the best day of the week. It's my favorite day of the week. It's when I sleep the least and my happiness is the most. Let's get into all the things that came out. This video is going to be different than my other ones, obviously. I was kind of tired of doing history and essays and things like that. Wanted to have a little bit more fun. Wanted to let the internet world know a little bit more about kind of music I listen to, how I find it. So it's best day of the week. Let's get into it. First things first, we got the new Bon Iver album, Sable Fable. I've been waiting on this for a long time. I have got, I think, every single Bon Iver album on vinyl. Definitely one of my favorite artists. And honestly, I was a little bit nervous on the build up into it just because I'm a bad person. And so when Justin Vernon, obviously the lead man for the band, came out and said that he had found some happiness and that he wanted to make an album about happiness, obviously as someone who's been a fan for such a long time, someone who always used Bon Iver to kind of be with me in those dark moments, I was a little apprehensive about how it was going to come across. But honestly, he nailed it. There's elements of For Emma Long Ago and the self-titled album that are singer-songwritery and guitar-heavy and just a lot of vocals and singing, and it's very peaceful. It sounds like summertime. And then there's also evolutions and sounds that are coming from 22 A Million and I, and there's experimentation. The album, to me, is a perfect length. It's got, I think, 13 songs on it, and it's split into a 4-song EP that he released a little while back, and I enjoyed a lot. And then it's a 9-song album about, again, that happiness and that peace that he's found. And to me, it just really broke the trope perfectly of the idea that this tortured artist approach has be the only one that we use in music. To me, this was, he said in an interview with Lil Yachty that might be a kind of goodbye. He wouldn't want to use that term because he doesn't really see any point when a lot of artists will say that. Then they'll come back and make more music, go on tour again, which I appreciate him not saying it. But if this is a goodbye and it's him saying, I found some happiness, I found peace, the art and the music that I make moving forward might not have a Bon Iver title, might not be in a Justin Vernon style that you've come to know and love. To me, perfect album on first listen. I think it had all the different elements of him as an artist that we've grown to love, while also branching out and kind of giving us sounds that we haven't heard before, since this is an emotion we haven't gotten from him before either. So definitely check this one out first. And then I am a week late, but my girl, Jessie Reyez, also released an album last week that I just wasn't in the ability to film or anything and document things like that. But hers kind of along the same lines. It felt like it combined a lot of her awesome singer-songwritery things from earlier in her career to the more pop hits that she's had as of late. And then even her work with Calvin Harris. I don't know if he's anywhere on the album. Haven't had the time to really look into it that much. But there are definitely some upbeat, some fun dancing kind of songs on that one. And Jessie Reyez, again, one of those artists that anytime she drops an album, I'm listening to it on 2 a.m. on Friday morning or 10 p.m. on Thursday if I'm awake. It's a great album. You don't get bored at any point throughout. There's variety, there's variability within it, and also definitely worth a listen. Whereas Bon Iver, I think, is one of those that you'd listen to, first thing in the morning or when you're by yourself. Jessie Reyez, I think you're going through your day, the weather's starting to warm up, put that bitch on if you want, trying to get stuff done. Or if you've gotten your stuff done and now you're sitting down, you're relaxing, you just kind of want something there to narrate yourself as you go through the day. What else we got? The new Amine song, Arc de Triomphe. I think that's how you pronounce it. Not sure. I loved it. I was bouncing around. I love Amine when he's kind of bouncy. I was a little disappointed with the Kaytranada collab album. It was just a little too repetitive, a little too much of the same things, and I have a feeling the new album that's coming with Amine's song, I probably won't love every song, probably might not even like every song or even half of them, but Arc de Triomphe is him at his best, had me kind of bobbing my shoulders like this, trying not to wake up my wife, listening to everything. There's a couple other songs on here that did that too, but this one started it off. This is probably the most exciting Friday I've had in a long time with music, just because it just felt like there were so many different genres that had me kind of moving around. And the reason why I say that is because New Music Friday for me is obviously if one of my favorite artists drops some music, then get to go find that. I'm always going to start there, like Bon Iver, Jessie Reyez, guys like that. But then also if there's nothing there after that and I still have some time, I get to know that every single genre is almost always dropping on Fridays, which brings me to something like Low Shimmy. think that's how you pronounce his name. I don't know, never heard of the dude. I'm a sucker for an acoustic guitar on a hip-hop sounding like kind of 808 beat, and I think he just does that really well on the Off My Mind song that he put out. Went in, kind of researched more of his stuff. It was a little bit more of the same, but like I said, Off My Mind, loved that. Going to be kind of keeping an eye out for him. And then in a similar but different fashion, In My Head by Chris Lake and Amber Mark. Again, never heard of either one of those, but that is a track that you're definitely going to want to add to your summer dance playlist. Had me bouncing, moving around. Will I go to anything else by them? It's a genre I don't come back to very often, but again, I think I'm just kind of feeling that summertime coming on and coming on and coming on. So those two were great. And then Shabuzi wasn't his most like upbeat song, but man, if there's the Kendrick beef and everything like that, there's a lot going on last year that took center stage. But probably the most notable moment, honestly, for me in all of 2024 was discovering Shabuzi and kind of coming to figure out what he's all about. His album's amazing. He looks like he's got a deluxe coming on. He's already put 2 of the songs out for the deluxe, and he's probably going to turn into one of my favorite country artists ever. Almost talked about Shabuzi and didn't talk about the other country album that I love so much, which, again, group never heard of before. I feel like I may have ran into them once or twice and just never actually like contextualized and fully processed what they were doing. They're the Turnpike Troubadours, and their Price of Admission album came out. Went back, looked at all their stuff. Not a bad album in the repertoire. I guess their lead singer has like gone through a lot of development, so they used to make music all the way back to 2012. Still doing it to today. Nothing like super stand out about the album on this one, but again, as we're moving into summertime, that's when everybody starts releasing more music. That's when every genre starts coming in, along with the country. Then we also had some Spanish music coming in from Raúl Alejandro. Carita Linda by Raúl Alejandro, which again was just a lot more upbeat. And then it was El Chore and Junior H, who released a pretty cool song, which again is right here for you. And then on top of that, I'd be remiss not to mention one of my favorite St. Louis artists, along with Smino, obviously. Nando STL teamed up with La Russell and T-Pain to put out the song Who Do You See? I don't know why I just didn't expect this. The title of the album is called Make Hip Hop Fun Again, which I also just love the idea of. You know, they're still being like sincere. They're still being legitimate to like themselves on the album. La Russell has a lot of guests on there, from Snoop Dogg and T-Pain to, again, Nando STL, who I know, but definitely still think of him as a bit more underground, good vibes feeling music. If you don't know Nando STL, but you like that song, go check out almost all of his discography. My favorite of him is I Don't Even Smoke. I don't even smoke, but I might roll some with you. All super cool songs. And then lastly, on the more up-tempo ones, Gunna is definitely an artist that I usually don't like most of his music. None of his music do I dislike. It's all stuff that, to me, is it's like I get one Gunna song, and that's kind of all I need for a long time. Then usually it's kind of the same sound for me over and over again. I know he's a popular artist. That's just me personally, but yeah, he teams up here, and I really liked what he was doing on this song. He collaborated with this rare person that I've never heard of before. Loved it. Thought it came in really well, and like I said, for the up-tempo songs, I think that just about rounds out what I was able to find, but I know there's more coming. When it comes to the music that came out that I also loved, but not quite at the same up-tempo thing, the singles at least for that matter. Obviously, Bon Iver's pretty slow listen every time. But Four Bats came out in the morning. I love Four Bats. I am all in on this train. I don't think he's ever going to put out any like groundbreaking projects or anything like that, though I did love his first one. But I think he's just going to be a prominent like feature figure, put out some great LPs. I think he's going to have a few songs like sending shots at your DM.
And send a text to your DM.
I think he's going to have a few of those big hits throughout his career. And, you know, I don't know if he does most of his production. I don't know anything about him really, but it also made me go find his song Mortal Kombat, which did make me excited for that development. I feel like Mortal Kombat, which, again, I found from In the Morning, the new release, just shows how he can, like, experiment a little bit, get away from that kind of, like, dreamy R&B sound that I think just gets repeated a little bit too much sometimes if we're not careful, but the moodiness, I think, really he kind of separates from a little bit on Mortal Kombat, And anything that he's got going, I think he could have a real future-like trajectory where he's kind of typecast in the beginning, but the further along he goes in his career, it's totally up to him. He can go wherever he wants. Kind of along the same train as Four Bats, somebody else that I love, but can sometimes the sound just like kind of put me into a trance almost, and sometimes it's in a good way, sometimes it's in like a where am I kind of way. But Sabrina Claudio, she put out a new song. She's someone who I never like track her releases or anything, but every time she puts something out, I always check it out. I was not disappointed this time around. Thought it was a great track, nice and simple to the point like she always is, but again, maybe it was part of the excitement of the New Music Friday and one of the best ones in a while, but I loved it. It added perfectly into everything else I was listening to, kind of the same way that the Phineas track did. I'm a huge Billie Eilish fan. When Where Do We Go to Sleep, Where Do Our Dreams Go, whatever that album's called, when that came out, I remember bothering my wife like for a long time, being like, I don't know who this girl is. I'd never heard Ocean Eyes, never heard anything like that. It came from a New Music Friday, where I went to the alternative section on Browse, found her album, and I was like, this is one of the best albums I've heard in a long time. So when I found out it was her brother that she was working mostly with, and that Phineas was really kind of almost most of the genius behind what I was loving about her music, which was the production, the vision, all those things that they had going on together. I became a big Phineas fan. The kind of music he makes on his solo joints are just not usually my vibe, so I'm not usually tacking onto him. But he's like Mac DeMarco, who's an artist that I never listened to their work or their albums, but anytime they're on somebody else's stuff, I'm like, they just elevated this to a whole new spot. So not only do I love him, I think the reason why I love this song when I don't normally love his music is because he's covering another one of my favorites. I got a lot of favorites, obviously. But Casey Musgraves, Give or Take Her. He released an EP. There was 3 or 4 songs on there. That was the song that stuck out to me because it felt like Casey was bringing a kind of dynamic approach to his voice that can sometimes get a little repetitive and monotonous. But also Give or Take Her was one of the songs on Casey's previous album that I thought was definitely adding to the sonics and the soundscape of the album as a whole. But it was one of those where I was like, it needs something a little bit different. Obviously, her album Golden Hours for sure my favorite, and I've loved every work that she's put out since then for the most part. But I've been just feeling like she needs to switch it up a little bit. I know she's making music that's true to her, and she's talking from experiences, so it feels like she's kind of like sticking to the sounds that feel safe so that the words can kind of take a center stage a little bit more. But I think Phineas came in, and like I said, where she adds to his sound getting a little repetitive, he can change up hers a lot. And while I loved her last album, I kind of prefer this version of Give or Take Her in a weird way. Might be blasphemous to Casey fans, but two things that really piqued my curiosity from this New Music Friday. One, Lana Del Rey. That girl literally did her thing on that song. Felt like she was kind of returning back to a lot of the old sounds and the kind of patterns that we were used to when she was first starting. I've loved the work with Jack Antonoff and everything she's put out. She's one of those artists who, just like Bon Iver, he was releasing songs for his album that just came out and everything, and honestly, I almost never listened to them because I just know they're artists where I have to hear that in conjunction with the rest of the album and like to see how that fits in. So I played like a minute of it for myself just so I could see like, is this a huge turn away from what she's been doing, similarly to what I did with Bon Iver. And it wasn't. I felt like a return instead of an aversion. So that piqued my interest. Very excited for whatever project she's working on. I hope she brings in some dynamic sounds. On Lust for Life, I felt like I loved every single song on that album because I never knew what was coming next. And then obviously having A$AP Rocky and Playboi Carti on there. She's with Quavo. So if she can have a kind of a return with some of those sounds and then bring in some of that experimentation and development, perfect. Then other than that, the other piquing of interest that I have no clue if I'm pronouncing this right. I think it's Zawi, somewhere like there. She's a South African artist. She released an EP. All of the pieces were there. I didn't think like she was putting them together perfectly yet. But definitely go spin the EP. Just see if there's anything on there. I think it's the 3rd track. She's got somebody else that she makes a song with. It's all slipping my mind again. It's been a long day. But anyway, piqued my interest. She's someone I remember when speaking of in a moment, but I remember when Rema came out with Calm Down, and it just like, I had been going looking for African music because I don't remember what was happening. It was a few years ago, obviously, but I was just gotten bored of American music, and it was probably when I was loathing hip hop the most because it was just repetitive and things like that. So I remember going to find that, and the feeling that I had when I found Calm Down by Rema, kind of similar to what Jawi felt like, which was, ooh, this could be something. But I loved Calm Down even before the Selena collab, so I'll stand on that, even though I have nothing to prove it since I didn't have this channel at the time. But anyway, moving on. Next, we're going to look at some honorable mentions. All right. I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm going to just run through some honorable mentions. Y'all can just decide for yourself if that's something that you want. And to start off with, I Didn't Used To by The Wreck. Again, something I was like, it just kind of intrigued me. The sound of it, the look of it, the name of it. I always go through every single thing on the browse page, and then if it's a slow day, I'll go per genre, and I'll go looking, if it's the winter time, I'll usually go for something, looking for something in the jazz world, something in the, alternative world, like Noah Khan somewhere in there. If it's summertime, it'll be something probably hip-hop related. I'll be looking for something fun somewhere in there. But anyway, found that. Wasn't really my style, but some real dope sounds on there that I liked a lot. And then similarly, Cynthia Erivo, I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. The Wicked Witch of the East from Wicked, which the Wicked soundtrack, incredible. One of the best projects from last year. Wasn't a new project in my mind, since obviously remake of the Tony production, but the sounds that she had on her singles and on her individual music, God, that girl can sing. Like there's no doubt about that. Sometimes I see, like, with the most talented singers, their voice has to take such a center stage that the sounds around it get like kind of outsourced a little bit. And I feel like that's what happens with her music, but still dope. And then I mentioned Rema, his song "Bout You." I'm starting to get to this point where, like, I kind of know exactly what his songs are gonna sound like. So again, nothing I would ever turn off. All of these honorable mentions are kind of in that category. I'd never turn them off, but they just didn't quite get me to like save the song or anything like that. But Rema, one of my favorite artists for years. Like I mentioned, he like opened my mind to so many different African artists, not just in Nigeria or Ghana, but again South Africa, and even exposed me to some Indian music as my discoveries led me into there. And then Cautious Clay, man, he has got some songs that like I play religiously in the springtime once it starts to warm up, and I have more opportunity to sit outside or drive with the windows down or just take a drive for no reason. I don't do that in the winter in Colorado usually, but I always vibe with what he's doing. And sometimes, again, he just gets a little too dreamy for me. He starts to put me to sleep. I'm always listening to this music at like 2 a.m. So maybe that's why. Maybe he's literally putting me to sleep. But I'll spin it again, see if that's something that I like more. And then Don't Stop by Prospa. Listen, I am no EDM head or rave goer by any means. I've dipped my toe in, but by dipping my toe in, I know that there's a time and place, and there's a substance and a group of people and a time in my life when that song would absolutely be hitting. So all the pieces are there. It's nothing I'm ever going to play on a day-to-day basis, but I enjoyed it a lot. And then Supernova by Sophie Castillo. Was close, wasn't all the way there for me, but it was one of those I like listen and I'd be like, it's like that girl drinking that kombucha, that little meme, like I kept doing that kind of the whole song. And to me at this point, there's just so much music in my life. If it doesn't like strike me, if there's no reason, nobody's telling me over and over again to go find it, it's usually something I just won't have time to really sit with. But Sophie Castillo, if I see any of her stuff come through again, I'll probably be clicking on it for sure. And then the Green Day song, man, I don't know what it was. I think it was something like French related or something like that. I don't know. It looks like they have a deluxe album coming out. Felt like I had some like nostalgia glasses on, but the song that they just released, man, it just transported me back. Green Day was me and my brothers like one of our favorite artists that we, I have older brothers and younger brothers and siblings as well. It was one of those bands that like just connected all of us. We all got down with it, kind of Bare Naked Ladies like. We just all like kind of were right there with it together. So I did love that new Green Day song. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. And then the most probably intriguing time of this Music Friday for me was an album that, again, I wasn't all the way there for me. It's in the honorable mentions here. But I Dress released an album, and I just loved it. Like, I loved parts of it, but then there were other parts that were just like too alternative for me. I love my alternative, but I'm definitely not like an alt head. That's for sure. But yeah, their album, never heard of them. It's called Stoner. The self-titled track Stoner on there is tight, and then the Mac DeMarco song that they have is just awesome. Like I said, I love all of Mac DeMarco's music. I would never be like, oh my God, you have to turn this off. But I definitely don't go searching for it. I Dress, this was like a 21, 22, 23 song album or something like that. I think if it was condensed down to 12, it would be more like approachable, digestible for me if it was like a 37 to 44 minute album. Instead, I think it's like somewhere between 45, 58 minutes. And again, for 23 songs, I don't care if it's hip hop, I don't care if it's alternative, I don't care if it's country. It better be a pretty damn good album for you to be putting that many songs on there. If not, cool, do your thing, get your bag, or put out all the stuff you've been working on. I'm all about it. But like I said, I think this could have been something that like I would have saved the whole album and played it on road trips. But because it was just a little bit too many tracks, it was just too much for me, considering it starts off real alternative and I can't like quite find a pattern. The cover art just like intrigued me so much. I was like, I feel like there's gonna be something here that I like a lot. So anyway, went through that. Took me a couple tries. It's not my normal genre taste, but all in all, great music. Great new Music Friday. I wasn't gonna start making like those essays. They take so long to edit and like put together, and I want to do a good job out of respect for the artists and out of respect for y'all who give me your time. But I also want to make sure I'm like kind of dipping in and out of what's going on with music all the time. That way I can be, if you care to, let me assist you with creating some new playlists and stuff like that. And then also I can kind of shake off trying to read from a script and things of that nature. So that was it. That was New Music Friday. Like I said, if you really feel strongly about like, hey, I want to know the good music going into the weekend, I might try to start putting these on Friday and then releasing the essays on Wednesday. Or I'll just do them as I get them done, because none of this matters, you know? I'm just a dude on the internet talking about music. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Always let me know if there's something I missed, if there's a new song came out, new this or that. You want me to give a quick blurb? I'm going to start doing like shorts and stuff like that for things of that nature. But as always, appreciate you guys. Keep doing your thing. I'll keep doing mine. And go find the music. Peace and love.